Talking fishing, nothing but fishing, talking fishing. If it's facts about fishing that you want to know, then tune in, folks, cause this is the show. We'll show you all the right bait to use, so sit right back, you got nothing to lose. Doesn't really matter if it's trout or carp, flathead, marlin or a gummy shark. Listen to the guys and you can't go wrong. They'll be talking about fishing till the cows come home. Talking fishing, nothing but fishing, we're talking fishing.
And welcome everyone to Talking Fishing, a big show coming up with all the regular segments. Plus I catch up with Trevor Holmes from Victorian Inland Fishing Charters down at Tondo Reservoir. Dallas De Silva from VR Fish, who attended the big public rally at Horsham on Sunday. And we'll try and give you as many tips for fishing at your favourite destinations for the Melbourne Cup long weekend this week. Plenty of freshwater talk this week too. Adam Ring needs no introduction. Ads, we've got 2 shows down. 27 to go until the end of April 2015, and you're in for a very busy week this week in the lead up to the big tea tree comp held out of Mornington.
Yeah, thanks Dave. Huge week coming up and very exciting times as we head into the tea tree comp. It looks like the weather might be a little bit iffy, so my tip is that it gets taken out by a land-based angler this year.
It starts early Friday morning now, I think,
Yes.
and there's always a little window of opportunity, you would hope.
Yep.
So fingers crossed. I've got my toes crossed as well.
Yeah, well the Western Port guys will get out of it.
Yeah.
They'll find somewhere to hide, but I don't know. The year of the land-based angler, I think.
Challenging weekend, and of course many people get away. A man who is a legend on the streets of Shepparton, where he runs Trelly's Tackle World for many, many years. He now owns Tackle World Laverton and Ray Long's Fishing World in Geelong. Trelly, welcome to your first gig on Talking Fishing.
Thanks very much, Dave, Adam. And I'd hope to just bring a little bit of the word freshwater into Talking Fishing.
Absolutely, and we look forward to it. Well, let's get right into it now, because I heard today some very, very good reports of yellowbelly from Lake Eildon, and of course, you know, many people have got all those great destinations around Victoria on their mind, because it is the long weekend for some that have Monday off. They get away for 4 days, and Lake Eildon would be a classic. Yellowbelly, you were talking about them schooling up.
Yeah.
I don't know much about yellowbelly. I'm happy to say that. Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, the yellowbelly up there are just starting to school up. So what we've seen over the years when we have a good year on the yellowbelly is you'll catch one, you'll bring it to the surface, and it'll actually pull up another 2 or 3 with them. So whether you're catching a male or a female and the other ones come up, I'm not real sure.
Yeah.
But sometimes they'll actually come up, like 6-7 years ago, we saw them come up in like 20 and 30 and just hover around. And a lot of times when they actually go to net the one that's on the hook,
Yeah.
they'll actually net another 1 or 2.
Serious?
They are that tight when they come up and they chase it up. So yeah, it's amazing. So
Are they the sort of fish that you can hold in a burley trail? You know, like get a nice pilchard trail? No, I'm only joking.
Yeah, I don't think so.
No, but burley, you don't burley for them and try and hold them at the back of a boat or anything?
No, not really. No, the guys have tried some of the scents and bits and pieces like that, or hanging a sheep's head full of maggots over a stick for a couple of weeks before they fish the spot. But no, not burleys. Yeah, don't really do it.
You blokes from the country got a bit to learn, I reckon. But anyway,
If they come rushing up and you've got one on, is it like the old kingy thing? Can you just drop another lure or another scrubby or whatever over the side and catch the ones that follow all the ones up, or they tend to just
they don't
mill
tend
around?
to take anything else. They just tend to follow that one up. So whether you're catching a big female and the males follow them up, I'm not real sure. But they certainly, just in the last few days, we've heard these reports of this yellowbelly thing happening. Even a few years ago, we've actually heard of them biting the prop of motors.
really,
like a few
a
years
bit
ago.
like Jaws.
Yeah.
I watched that movie once or twice.
There's another freshwater
It is
movie
also
there,
about not about getting away so much, but the tea tree comp is very big, and
it's
like we
huge.
said, a big build up, Adam. And for people that want to get all the latest on where they're biting, what's the tricks of the trade, because it is quite cool out there water temperature wise compared to other years. If you're bored tomorrow night and you want to get down to Mornington Mazda, there is a very big snapper talk night. Adam and I will both be there, and we have, I'm just trying to think who we've got there. We've got Steve Johnson from Ace Fishing Charters, Simon Rinaldi from Red Hot Fishing Charters, and our very own Scott Harper from Tackle World Kramer, and he'll be talking on the panel. And then Dr. Paul Hardy-Smith talking all things catch, release, and also how to look after your fish, your flesh, how to get the most out of your beautiful snapper, because it's a very topical subject right now. And tea tree, there will be a lot of fish caught.
Yep.
But if you're bored tomorrow night, get down to Mornington Mazda. Now you do need to book. Give us a call in the morning at Tackle World Kramer or Mornington, 5996 6500. It's a great evening of entertainment. You get a pizza and you get drinks and all that sort of stuff. So if you're bored tomorrow night, there are a few seats left. Boys, time to talk fishing. Let's have a look at some of the catches of the week. and there's been some crackers this week. Let's start off. I know it's all about snapper. Just thought we'd throw in a couple of nice gummies. And Luke Cheshire has got a beautiful gummy down at Boy 11 in Western Port. Cracker of a fish, just a beautiful size fish there. Great photo too.
Yeah, it's just not about snapper. It's exciting. The snapper thing starting to happen. It's been happening for a few weeks, but it's good to see a few other species pop up as well.
And the beauty is people can get out and have a snapper fish, then maybe change up to bigger baits and different style and get into some gummies as well. They might want to fish into the night, you know, and get a nice gummy. Gail Torsk, if I've got that right, a beautiful snapper out of Coronella. Fishing with Sean Fertier on Think Big Fishing Charters. Good old wingers offside of there, and a very nice fish. Sean is just a master of Western Port at the moment and gets out and gets people onto some very nice fish, doesn't he?
Yeah, and Coronella would have to be the snapper capital. We've spoken about it over the last couple of weeks, Dave, and I'm sure we'll be talking about it in future episodes because it's just a snapper hotspot. They're all up in the shallows, they're fighting hard, and they're all big fish, as you see there from Gail.
I think people are just got to be a bit patient if you're going to go down to Coronella, particularly if you're launching down there. Reports last Friday night, we were sitting in the 3AW studios having callers say, this is ridiculous. They knock off work, they want to go for a fish for a couple of hours, and it's over an hour wait to get your boat into the water. So it certainly is a bit of a capital. Paul Davies, another person fishing with Sean Fertier, got out and a beautiful gummy shark off Coronella. Another beautiful species. I know Paul's down from one of the naval bases, I think in Jarvis Bay, staying over at the naval base in Western Port. Cerberus, that's the one. Couldn't remember that, slipped my mind. But anyway, Paul, cracker of a fish, he'd be wrapped. He'd just be going, wow, this is a great gummy fishery.
Yeah, so not a bad bycatch.
Good eating.
Oh, absolutely, Trelly. Yeah.
Okay.
If you can get real flake these days instead of the imported stuff, and it's true gummy and a bit of beer batter, is just absolutely sensational, gummy shark.
Not like our carp.
Not like your carp.
Well,
no.
not quite that good.
No,
not quite that good.
Let's head over to Port Phillip, and Morty Alec has been a bit of a hot spot at the moment. Paul Cassadiaris, a couple of cracker snapper there. I know he's been out fishing with his mates, but those fish, they don't get much better than that in Port Phillip.
No, and 16 metres of water. They're starting to school up now, but big fish like that, I tell you what, you sound a couple of them up on the mud, and it'll be hard not to stop and put down a Port Phillip Bay pilly or a silver whiting or something like that.
Charlie, you're seeing many of those big fish over in Corio Bay at all? You're seeing them come into the tackle shop at Geelong?
We're seeing the odd one come in now.
Yeah.
With the weather the way it's been, we've had a really good sort of lead up to this time of year as opposed to last year.
Yep.
So we are seeing the on a regular basis come in. Not those big numbers like you talk about. But we're getting some nice ones in.
Yeah, I think you'll see, up north too, that water is a little bit warmer up the northern end of the bay, so you will see a lot of boats heading up towards, that Altona area and getting some very, very nice fish. I think it's almost, is Port Phillip hasn't quite taken over Western Port yet, has it? Hasn't quite. It's getting close.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's quite there yet, but it's right there. It's right there.
Yeah, I think you'll see some of the charter guys starting to fish heavily now in Port Phillip, particularly tea tree. I know they're all booked for tea tree. Guys like Sharky and Simon and Sean, you'll see some of those boats. Sean will come over to Port Phillip and do a bit, and I think once those guys get out there and they're doing 2 or 3 charters a day, then you're going to see the general public get out there in much bigger numbers, and we really will see some fish come in.
Yeah, well, once Port Phillip tips over that 16-degree mark, it'll be those crazy sessions that you hear about, every snapper season where whether it's on a charter boat or a personal recreational boat, there'll be catches of 20, 30 fish in a session.
So the temperature hasn't quite got to this?
Not quite.
No.
There's patches of water in shallow, but typically once it sort of stabilises at that 16 degrees, it'll be on.
Yeah, it will be. Yeah. Trelly, one for you. A beautiful brown trout from Toolondo Reservoir. Kevin Zip got this cracker. I think he was out fishing with Trevor Holmes from Victorian Inland Fishing Charters, and a brown trout doesn't get much better than that.
No, that's a really good brown trout, that one. Yeah. So I hear there's quite a lot in there.
We're going to talk a lot about Toolondo very, very shortly, or later on in the program anyway. But yes, they are great fish. Just your standard techniques, your Tassie Devils. I know there's been a few times where there's been a bit of weed and you have to cast a timber and try and get some of the fish out of there. But just a beautiful place that is slowly but surely running out of water. Those cracker browns, get down there while you can, because it is just a fantastic fishery. We had a big rally down there. Like I said, we're going to talk about that later on, but it is a cracker fishery, and fish like that are coming out of it right now. If you'd like to send in a pic of your catch of the week, this is what you have to do.
If you want to be like me and have your photo on TV, Email your fishing picture info@ifish.com.au.
Coming up on Talking Fishing Product of the Week, we talk Toolondo Reservoir water and we catch up with a few people who attended the public meeting last Sunday in Horsham. Be back with you shortly on Talking Fishing.
Talking fishing. Talking fishing.
Product of the Week, brought to you by Tackle World, now with 8 great locations around Victoria. Tackle World, where our advice is priceless, that's why it's for free.
And boys, now we're going to talk about what glows in the dark.
Yeah,
Lead us off, the things that glow in the dark.
We're going back to our childhood, Dave, when glow in the dark was everything.
It's topical now because people are out in the very early morning or fishing into the night for snapper gummies at this time of year. So the things that glow in the dark are actually quite helpful.
Oh, so it's actually quite practical.
The things that are on your boat. What have you got?
Now, we've got a range of Optia pliers here. Get a load of them, Charlie. I'm sure you've seen them. Dave, have a look at them.
So you got bent nose, straight nose, what else?
Side cutters, split ring pliers, basically everything that you're ever going to need in pliers. They also make a really big 11-inch game plier as well.
Sort of thing Trella uses on the cod.
Yeah,
That's my favourite plier.
Can I just say also, and I don't want to go pushing certain brands of products and that, because stainless steel isn't stainless steel how it used to be. There's some very cheap stainless steels coming out of China, obviously. This is a pretty damn good stainless steel. I just find it's good in this. Salt and steel don't go together.
No,
right? There's always going to be some level of corrosion.
That's right.
These are damn good.
Yeah, they hold up pretty well. They're very easy to find in low light. It's always interesting when we flick the lights off in the shop every night and you still think you've left one on because the plier wall's going. The knife, in the same sort of vein as the pliers, Zanelli knives do a range of glow-in-the-dark handle stuff. Again, I think that's more just piggybacking on the back of the craze of glow-in-the-dark now. But again, on the boat, you're down at the boat ramp, you either get there late or you've just come in from a nice session at night.
There's probably about 4 or 5 different blade styles in that
range.
Yeah, there
is. To suit everything from whiting through to gummy sharks, even mako sharks. There's quite a big knife in the range there as well.
Yeah.
Braid scissors, same again. These ones in particular come with a glow-in-the-dark pouch as well. I know a lot of guys mount these to either their bait board or the gun or the boat or something where they can find them easily. They even come with a couple little stainless steel screws. So
so you can actually mount that on the side of your bait board or something like that. If you want to put it there, there's nothing worse. You have a bust off and you go, oh, all right, got to tie a few knots, tie a few rigs or whatever.
Exactly.
Where's your scissors, and in the dark, that sort of stuff. It just look. I've got a few in my shed, and you just leave them around the floor.
Well, you can always find it.
You close the shed door, and there's all these things glowing in the corners.
Yeah. Especially you guys fishing for snapper at night time must be just really handy to find.
And you don't want the boat lit up like a Christmas tree at times, So you don't, Shirley. And so they are good. What else? There's all these little things.
Stubby holder, don't they, Charlie?
The dark stubby holder. What else you got there? A bit of terminal stuff.
Yeah. Now we get into the business end of it all. Shinto make a range of glow-in-the-dark snapper hooks. They're only in the suicide pattern at the moment, and we'll work on other things as we keep going. But I guess with some pre-tied rigs like the snapper snatchers and things, I think it's quite common knowledge now that it's been the glow beads and everything, which I guess are attracting more fish than the feathers themselves. So there's massive, all different sizes and packs and bits and pieces with the glow bead.
And you can also use those. They're becoming very popular with the freshwater guys. On top of a sinker when you're jigging for yellow belly and reddish, things like that.
It's just something else.
That's a cracker. Those sinkers. They're almost like a rubber coating, aren't they?
Yeah, that's right.
It's glow in the dark. I don't know whether that's actually applied as a paint or not. Certainly. The hooks are like a powder coating and they're sensational, obviously leaving the penetrating end very sharp and not powder coated in the Lumo. But I tell you what, just as an attractant to fish, something else that just glows while you're using it.
It's just something else to get an advantage out on the water when things are tough. Western Port, the water can be quite murky. Something as simple as a glow-in-the-dark sinker, a glow-in-the-dark hook could be enough to get you over the line.
Something to beat your mate with.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Exactly.
Pretty much. So I don't tell anyone about
that. No, you put them all around here. What are you using?
Boys, great talk and some good products there. Just something a little bit different, as we said, the things that glow in the dark. On Sunday, there was a very big public rally down at Horsham, and it was all about trying to get some more water into Lake Toolondo, and we're going to talk about that right throughout tonight's show because it is a great cause. It is our premier, the premier trout fishery of the state. And, you know, Trelly, even up your way, you know, up Eel and those feeder rivers and so forth, they're doing it really tough with trout at the moment. I know Fisheries have launched a big thing. So, you know, they're going to acoustically tag some trout, and they're going to look at stocking some of the rivers and things like that. But what that does is it puts pressure on some of these impoundments. And when you've got a place like Toolondo that is so good, boys, it needs water, and there's no doubt about it. We're going to head down to Toolondo now and catch up with a few people. This is the people that I met on Sunday of the weekend. Trev, great rally here at Lake Toolondo. Just tell us a little bit about the fishing at the moment. What's the percentage of the lake and how's it fishing?
Look, currently 22% we've got in the lake, Dave. It is not fishing 100% at the moment, but I think it may pick up over the next couple of weeks. It's not brilliant, so people hold off. Keep an eye on my page. You'll get the updates to see what's going on.
What's it gonna take to get water in there, and what level for it to get through summer? Because it's going to be a warm one. It's a beautiful day here in Horsham today. It's going to be a warm one.
It is, yeah, fantastic.
These fish aren't going to last. What's it going to take?
Look, I think we've taken a great step today of getting this underway, and we're a step in the right direction. Of course, we've had some great support, so we need to get that water in there. We've got to make people see that we're going to get in there, and we need everyone else to get behind us and make it happen. So the more people involved, the better.
I'd estimate around 500 people here today, Trevor. It's been a great turnout in Horsham, a beautiful day. It's a beautiful lake. We just need water. We need to get the political parties to make some changes to the water rules, because if that doesn't happen, we haven't got fish in Lake Toolondo, and it's all over. Today's all about Toolondo, and unfortunately fishing and politics come together. You people need to decide in a few weeks' time who you're going to vote for. And a lot of people will vote for who they've voted for forever. A lot of people will vote because the roads are stuffed in Melbourne and whoever's going to fix them is going to fix them. But there's a percentage of people that will vote because of fishing and what it means to them. And hopefully today you pick up a little bit about what the political parties are going to do, because unless someone intervenes with what's happening at Toolondo right now, unless someone changes the water rules, then nothing's going to change. Dallas De Silva, the General Manager of VR Fish, has joined the rally. Driven all the way from Melbourne. Dallas, thanks for coming.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks for the chance.
Now, you've had some great negotiations with the Water Management Authority. Just tell us a little bit about the water allocation that you've been able to negotiate, and all we need is the 400 and something thousand to pay for it.
That's right, yeah. So we've sat down with the Water Authority, and we've managed to negotiate an allocation of about 5,000 megalitres. The issue is how you get that water and transfer it across. So the costs are very prohibitive, You're looking at serious amount of money. Obviously, we think Toolondo is worth it. It is the premier trout fishery, certainly out this way, and if not across the country. And from VR Fish's point of view, we were very active going into this issue 3 years ago. We were very quick when we heard the water was available to get the thing stopped. It's been a fantastic fishery for the last 3 years, and we really want to do whatever we can to keep it going.
I said in the speeches earlier on, Dallas used to work for Fisheries, and he was one of those blokes. Yes, he was a bureaucrat. We all loved him because he fished and he understood the issues. He's now heading Verfish, our peak body, and he's in there fighting. Got an allocation of water. I think it's down to negotiating the price of that water. We might just get a top-up in the very near future.
Look, we've pushed along the whole journey, and we've tried to make things happen. Unfortunately, we've struck brick walls everywhere we've turned, and that's been disappointing itself.
Not only brick walls, but there's been gates open and water flowing out of Rocklands, and just a little bit of it would have helped Toolondo, wouldn't it?
Oh yeah, without doubt, Dave. Any water in there would be great at the moment, and seeing the water being wasted down the Glenelg, and I wouldn't say wasted over to Taylor's at the moment because it is being put to good use, but mismanagement of the water is a key issue, and I think that's something that needs to be looked at further down the track.
What all of you need to understand is we're not here to bag the environment. We're not here to stop water flowing for what they call an environmental flow. But what we've got right now is no recreational allocation. So we need an allocation of water from Rocklands to Toolondo for recreational purposes. And if that Toolondo doesn't bring in dollars to the local community, to Horsham, to other towns around, to the pubs that people stay in or buy meals in on the way back to Melbourne from their fishing trips or whatever, I'll go he, because it does contribute. I don't know, have you got any estimate, Trev,
back in the day, Laurie Liston estimated 37 million per year comes into the local economy through Toolondo in its prime.
It's a massive amount of money. Fisheries policy of getting trout into, some of these drought-affected waters when the drought did break. And I mean, Dallas is probably, you were in fisheries then, and it was a great program. There was a lot of trout bred up at the Snobs Creek hatchery to put into lakes like Toolondo. When the water came, the fish came because they were ready. They were well prepared. There was years where those trout were bred and the drought hadn't broke and they all got dumped into Lake Eildon, and Lake Eildon's benefited from that. But the thing is, fisheries were ready. They created something. People are loving it. Now they're going to kill it. Now, Jeff Stock is a guy who loves Lake Toolondo, or Toolondo Reservoir, whatever you'd like to call it. He's been coming here for over 30 years, bought a beautiful block of dirt. You've seen drought come and go.
Yeah.
You've also seen some mighty fish caught out of there, haven't you?
There's trout in there now, I'd say easily £10 for sure.
Yeah.
That's if they last the next few weeks.
Well, they've got to last through this summer, that's the thing. You were talking about earlier in the speeches about how fisheries stocked this many, many years ago. It went dry again, they've stocked it again. They really do boom in here because of the food source, the environment, don't they?
It's an entirely unique ecosystem in Toronto. There's so many food sources and so much ecosystem to support the food sources. It's unprecedented. There's nothing like it anywhere else in Australia. That's why it achieves the growth rates that it does. It's all food, and they just pump it in and they grow fat and big. And you go overseas to try to catch a fish of the calibre here. Go to England, cost you 20 grand a year to fish on a 30-metre stretch of bank. Go to New Zealand, get some guides, try to catch a fish. This is world-class stuff. It's worth millions of dollars to the local economy, and they're letting it go.
It's blokes like Jeff that we need to fight for this fishery for, because it's blokes like him that make the stories, bring the kids, the grandkids, and enjoy this beautiful place. And there you go. I tell you what, Jeff Stock really did touch my heart there, because when a man travels down there and he sees what's happening to a fishery like that, it's pretty gut-wrenching, to be honest. Boys, you heard Dallas De Silva talk there about there has been a bit of a water allocation offered as recreational water down to Toolondo. It's only going to cost a mere $400,000. That whoever's coming up with these figures, that is just an absolute joke.
And in the long term, I mean, how long is that water going to last for? I mean, you fork out that type of money.
It might just get it through summer, and then you'd hope for some rain next winter. But seriously, $400,000. I mean, that's just ridiculous. And I think if there is a bit of water and a glimmer of hope for that place, someone needs to step in. And I'm sorry, but it stops with one person. That's the Minister for Water, who just so happens to be the Minister for Fisheries. If he doesn't step in and go, yep, it seems like that bit of water can go, because there's all this argument about there's no water. If we can just secure that little bit of water and get through summer, it gets us over the line. You never know what happens next winter, and we're not asking anyone to hold off a drought or cure a drought. There's only one bloke that can do that, and that was 2015 years ago. So, it just really, it just needs some water, guys, to get through summer. Badly. And if we can do that, we just might have a fishery. The fish will survive through summer, and we have a great fishery next summer. Anyway, up next, fisheries news, and we'll discuss some of your favourite destinations for the Melbourne Cup weekend. See you after this.
Talking fishing. Talking fishing.
And now it's time for the news. The fishery news. Sounds a bit fishy to me.
And I tell you what, some of the news coming up is really fishy, I can tell you, boys. A couple of things, and it's all political, I'm afraid, this week. A big statement by Jacinta Allen on 3RW, boys, about no new marine parks under a Labor government. It hangs over their head every election, doesn't it, Trelly? It was a threat at federal level. It's a threat in Sydney. Yep. Right now, it's a threat in Adelaide. It's also a threat in Brisbane. I think it's a massive statement from Jacinta Allen to come out and say no new marine parks under Labor. And there's, I think we've got a good system in Victoria. We put up with it. We've got it. Let's just leave it as it is and get on with enjoying fishing. Yep. I want to talk about something that's a bit dear to my heart, and I held it back a little bit because of the Mates Day. And everyone at home would know that the Future Fish Foundation has Mates Day. We saw it. The footage last week, and it's a very special day for the Future Fish Foundation and all the people there. But get this, boys. I got a letter from Parks Victoria before Mates Day, and like I said, I held it back, that they have introduced new pricing for community events held in Victoria's parks and reserves, which is apparently what Patterson Lakes Boat Ramp is. It's a park or reserve. Under the new fee structure, events delivered by a charity or not-for-profit group will be eligible for community event pricing. Well, hang on, we've held Mates Day for 15 years on the same block of dirt, the same patch of grass between ramps 1 and 2 down at Patterson River. And now we're eligible for community event pricing. They charged us $160 administration fees for us to set up our tent. And I can tell you that cost us a couple of grand to rent. This is unbelievable. And listen to this. Parks Victoria is committed to connecting people and parks, having pioneered the concept of healthy parks, healthy people, which has been adopted by park management agencies across the world. We hope that this initiative will lead to an increase in the number of community events being held in Victoria's spectacular park system. So 15 years, we got charged nothing, and we promote how good a place it is, and we bring people down to Patterson River. 15 years we've set up on the same block of dirt, but now I'm eligible for a $160 fee that I paid out of my own pocket, and that's going to increase people using it for community events. I tell you, who is writing this? Seriously,
yeah,
I don't get it, Trelly.
It's one of those really hot issues, and as far as that goes, it's the government wanting their departments to stand on their own feet financially.
Yep.
That's what they're trying to do across the board with other departments. And whose land is it?
Is
it
it
must,
because
must be the government's land.
Trelly, is
Our
this
land
because they
involved.
wasted so many billions on Mikey?
Oh,
like,
well.
I'm talking about
Yeah.
setting up public land for public people. You know, it's just absolutely rubbish, and that's putting it nicely because. $160 after 15 years. Don't get me started, I'll tell you. I'm just going to go back to Lake Toolondo. There was a couple of media releases by both sides. Again, Jacinta Allen, a statement out there, the Victoria Labor will take action to maintain Lake Toolondo as Victoria's best trout fishing location. Labor is the only party that will protect the interests of rec fishers at Lake Toolondo, as they all say. Labor will ensure that the interests of recreational fishing are at the forefront of all considerations on water usage as it affects Lake Toolondo. So they're not going to solve droughts. We understand that, but what they want, they're going to give. They just want. Yep.
Just to sign that down the bottom?
Absolutely. Victorian Labor will establish an advisory committee made up of representatives of local and statewide rec fishing groups, Grampian, Wimmera, Mallee Water and local government to provide advice on actions to be taken to maintain minimum levels of water to maintain an effective recreational fishery in Lake Toolondo. I reckon that's a big statement. And, you know, we had Gary Kerr from the Country Alliance and Steve Price down there. And I wouldn't say Labor's always their favourite group of people, but they took this on notice and go, you know, that's a step in the right direction. Then, the day after, Peter Walsh, the Minister for Water, comes out and slams it as Labor's dumb Toolondo stunt. Now, I'm sorry, but I think Peter Walsh is using this as just a political draw card to bash the other side, and he's actually done nothing about the water. There's some of this stuff I just cannot believe. Miss Allen needs to respect that the precious water resources in the storages of the Wimmera Mallee region must be managed for ongoing water security and not for grubby Labor vote-grabbing stunts. It goes on to say that water storages in the Wimmera Mallee system are operated to ensure that water is supplied with minimal losses to customers for residential, agricultural and environmental uses. Now, I understand that, but where's the recreational allocation? And if he's saying that there is no recreational allocation, why is there, I think it's 5,000 megs, am I right? I don't know water volumes that well. There's 5,000 megs that Dallas De Silva was talking about earlier on that's available. That's a recreational allocation. Let us have it. Don't charge us $400,000 and don't give us this rubbish that it's only managed for residential, agricultural and environmental issues, because right now, the Water Authority's happy to give it. We're not happy to pay $400,000 rec anglers, and you've got a minister who's not even mentioning it because he's ear-bashing the other side. And I'm sorry to sound a bit one-sided, Trelly. But Toolondo needs some serious action. I'm not happy.
I think politics is one of those really touchy subjects, and I think you'll find that it depends on the government of the day, how they reach power, is a lot dependent on who puts them in as far as some of the minor parties. Now, if you've got the Greens' influence to either party, you'll find that the Greens are paid a favour back, which means that we could see marine parks and things like that. So one thing to get things signed off, but it's another thing after an election, you know, we weren't going to get a carbon tax until the Greens had the balance of power. So that's federally, I know.
Yep.
But the same thing happens with state politics. So you've got to be really careful and check out the form, the like the horse form, and find out who's preferencing the greens up the list and where they're going.
Talking about horses, I'm off my high horse now. Charlie, where do people from Shepparton go for Melbourne Cup weekend?
Not my house.
It's you know, you'd get Melbourne Cup day off, as in schools and public, you know, like that. I know tackle shops and that will be open in town, and that, but
things like that.
Yeah.
people have sickies. Yeah, but it is a public holiday in Shepparton. It's not, you're not 300 years behind the
it's
times.
mainly, I think Melbourne Cup as a holiday, I think it's code word for fishing. So it's like grab your rod and reel and go fishing. So it's one of those events, but normally a barbecue in the backyard and a few prawns and that type of thing. So but a lot of people do use it for the advantage of fishing.
Well, a lot of people head off from Melbourne and they hit the roads, either the Hume or the Maroondah Highway, head up to places around your neck of the woods. I'm going to talk about that straight after the break because there are some beautiful destinations. I think you might get a little bit of rain. Is it forecast Friday, Saturday, I think, and then it's going to come good for most of the Melbourne Cup long weekend. So we're going to see plenty of people hit the water, and we'll talk about that very, very shortly. Kramer's mailbag up next. Then we're talking fishing with Trelly back soon on Talking Fishing.
Talking fishing. Talking fishing.
And boys, a whole lot of mail arriving this week, and I tell you what, there's some classics here. I tell you what, Max Adlam from Berwick Angling Club. I have a gripe with launching facilities, in particular at Warneet on Western Port. This has been a disaster for as long as I can recall. Launching and retrieving at low tide ranges is from difficult to impossible. The newly and expensive constructed ramp is virtually unusable due to a completely inadequate gradient. An existing ramp continually silts up. I consider it an insult to have to pay to use these substandard facilities. I would be grateful if you could bring some pressure on those responsible for the distribution of monies collected via boat regulations, boat registration fees, fishing licences, etc. to improve facilities, especially as a state election is due and pollies of all persuasions seem anxious to allocate money to projects. It may be worth reminding the various parties that there are a substantial number of anglers who take their sport seriously and who may not have yet decided which party to support in what is shaping up as a very tight election. There's only one thing that they can do, guys, is rip it up.
Yeah.
You know, it's been from day one, so it's always been a pretty ordinary ramp to launch out at low tide, but they've gone and put this new one in and the gradient just doesn't work. There is only one thing to do, is rip it up, count your losses and get on with it and make it a great place because...
How did they get it so wrong? That's what I want to know. It doesn't make sense. You know, they spend all this money on doing it up. You'd think that some sort of research would go into it on, you know, what's going to happen once environmental effects take hold and you've got big tides, right? You know, running in and out.
I haven't been down there for so long because the original ramp was so bad.
It just doesn't make sense to me.
Max, we will look into it, and we might even try
That's
and
a
get
great
someone.
point.
I know it's hard to chat live with those authorities on this show, but certainly on 3AW we might look at doing that in the next couple of weeks. Stay tuned. Hi Dave, on behalf of Western Port Angling Club, I'd like to advise that the club has received a complaint from the Mornington Peninsula Shire about the mess on the foreshore. I think we're going to show a bit of footage of that mess on the foreshore below the cleaning table at Hastings Boat Ramp. Anglers are dumping snapper and gummy carcasses on the mud instead of using the bins that are provided. This creates an awful, unsightly stench. We as anglers need to portray that we are looking after the environment. The bins are emptied almost daily, so there's no excuse. The situation is also similar at the Stony Point cleaning table. Attached are a couple of photos which unfortunately do not carry the associated smell. You can see there, for the people at home, that there's a couple of bins either side of that table, and people should be using them.
Yeah, and I don't think...
I suppose what they're trying to do is fill in their time for the 2 hours they've got to put their boat on a trailer.
Well,
What are they going to do? They'll fill their fish.
I guess that's one way of looking at it. The other thing is, when they're throwing it in on high tide, it doesn't look so messy because they sink to the bottom and you think the crab's
tide
on
goes out.
after it.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I think in this particular case, it's probably done within the best interest. I don't think it's so much lazy people. I think it's more, why would I throw it in a bin where it's going to smell when I can put it back in the water? But they need to realise on a low tide, it's empty.
Yeah.
And that looked hideous. I'll be the first one to put my hand up and say that looked Shocking.
and it would stink. And
That's
Western
right.
Port Angling Club are always under a bit of pressure with their club rooms right on the foreshore. They want to kick them off. They want to do
And it
something
doesn't
better
take
with it.
much
So
to take a couple of plastic bags, put in a plastic bag.
That's right.
You can go home and even mince those up and use them for burley next time.
exactly,
So,
yeah.
A couple of quick ones here. Linda Hill, not sure where she's from. Our family has always wondered what the tackle rat on iFish says, so thanks for solving that last week. What's with the iFish stuff? Can you buy a tackle rat anywhere? Yes, Tackle World. Any Tackle World's got tackle rats. Helen and Alan Sweetman. Last weekend we were questioned by the water police about our inflatable life jackets. They were brand new and okay, but we had no idea how often they need to be serviced or how to get them serviced. Can you help?
This is a massive, massive grey area.
I'm hearing, like, old Don, 73-year-old Don that works for us at the shop down at Cranbourne, he got pulled over at Bem River. They were checking the canisters and they're checking the servicing. So I think there must be a bit of a blitz going on.
Yeah, the thing is with different manufacturers, you've got different standards. So one manufacturer says, I can tick off on this and sign it if I inflate it and then replace the cartridge.
Yep.
Another manufacturer says, it's got to go to their service centre.
Yeah, exactly.
So, one's for 12 months, one's for 3 years.
Well, this is an interesting thing, and again, I don't want to harp on it, but listen to 3AW at 7:25 this Friday night. We've got the water police on this very subject, because I tried to do a bit of research after getting this mailbag from Helen and Alan, and it's all about the manufacturers. Is there not a law about it? Is it not, it's unknown. I'll tell you what, we sell a lot of life jackets and we should know, and we're baffled.
Well, I think there's a standard to actually what the life jacket does and how it performs, but as far as the warranty or taking care of it, I'm not too sure on that side of things. So that'd be a good one to ask the guys.
Alrighty, and the last one, Simon Halstead from Anglesey. Hi guys, what is the best way to attach a squid jig to the fishing line or braid? By far to be the little braid and snap, and we might actually do something on that next week's show. Just show people how to attach it. With my bad eyesight, it's pretty hard sometimes, but you just roll it on these little snaps, and it is the best way to do it. So
you tie one at home and you just use it all day, same one.
There you go.
Exactly. If you'd like to write to me or these blokes, this is what you do.
Send your mail to Kramer's Mailbag, Post Office Box 734, Patterson Lakes, Victoria 3197. Or email kramer@ifish.com.au.
Trelly, back to the big question, where do people go around your neck of the woods for Melbourne Cup weekend, and where do Shepparton people go, or where do the people from Melbourne that travel up the Hume, the Maroondah, the Goulburn, where do they go?
Yeah, the Shepparton area, we've got the Goulburn River that runs through Shepparton down to Echuca, so we're in a fortunate position where we've got the Goulburn and we're not too far away from the Murray River. So, and if you haven't been up that way and gone through the parks up there, the Barmer Forest and around those areas, there's some fantastic sandbars. You've probably seen them on some of the ads, promoting the Murray River and that type of thing. So there's a lot of places, and there's really good access around Shepparton and those areas, and that extends pretty much right along the Murray River.
And when you say access, boat access or land-based access?
Land-based access.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so a lot of it is state forest or now national park.
Yep.
And you can access, a lot of the bends and bits and pieces, drive in, camp, and do all that type of thing.
Lots of timber in the water?
Yeah, lots of timber in the water, unlike the bay. But there's
funny that.
But lots of and boat ramps. As far as a lot of guys put in small tinnies, so it's easy. But there is, especially the Murray, there's a lot of access to bigger boats in the Murray. So you can get your scooter boat in or a 4 or 5 metre boat in the Murray pretty good. The Goulburn's a little bit harder. It's the access for boats a bit harder.
Lake Eildon, not too far away either, to your left-hand side or right-hand side, depending which way you're looking at of Shepparton.
Yep.
There'd be some nice yellow belly on at the moment.
Yeah, as we're discussing, the yellow belly are just kicking off now, so there's some really good sized ones being caught, and that will get better. It's just started, so that will get better over the next 2 or 3 weeks. It usually lasts it could last for a month, but I reckon about 2 or 3 weeks. Get up there.
Give the viewers at home a tip on what's the best technique to get a yellow belly in Lake Eildon this weekend.
Yeah, pretty much if you follow your sounder, if you've got a pretty good quality sounder, you'll see the trees, and the fish, yellow belly, will actually sit above the trees. So
above?
Yeah, so they actually sit sort of mid-water a lot of times. So you can actually troll above trees or around the tree lines and do it that way. Plus what you can...
And when you say troll, what are you using? A deep diving bib?
Not necessarily. Something probably gets down 3 or 4 metres.
Okay.
Can be things like bibless lures and things like that.
Yeah.
And what you can also do is when you get those rocky points that come in and you've got your water level, crisscross those rocky points. So when you're trolling, make sure your lure's hitting the bottom. So if you want to crisscross it, say at a depth of say 3 or 4 metres, you can do that and put a bigger bib lure on and cross it again down deeper. So, and you'll generally pick up fish that they'll sort of school in certain areas. So it's a really good tip for you.
And when you were saying earlier that the fish are schooling up a little bit, so if you do get one where you're on the troll, there's quite a chance that other fish could be coming up with it.
Yeah, like down here, no good fishing outside the bay.
No.
Go back to the same spot, fish the same spot, check it on your sound, they will move a little bit. And if your mate's catching them on a pink lure, put a pink lure on.
Yeah, well, that was my next question, because we always debate the squidgy thing.
First.
What's the best colour lure? Is it a pink? No, what is the best colour?
Oh, look, natural colours are really good. But
so what, browns and
frog type colours, green ones.
I was going to say, when you talk natural colours, I think prawns straight away. I don't think there'd be many prawns on there.
Get the pilchard deep divers out.
Frog's a bit hard to get on the hook too.
Is that the green tawny frog mouth? Yeah. Whatever they do that.
Red belly.
And so it's frog colours, green colours, brown colours.
Yeah.
Not too deep diving. You want to go 3 or 4 metres. And bait wise?
Yeah, bait, big bunch of worms or small yabbies. And if you're sort of working them just off the bottom or things like that, drop your sinker right down onto the hook so you can work them along the bottom. Again, you can pick them up in different depths of water, even though it might be 30 or 40 foot deep.
Yeah.
You'll pick them up at different heights of the tree line. So yeah.
Trelly just showing his age, talking in feet when he measures water. I bet you your sound is in feet and probably miles as well on the GPS. Coming up on Talking Fishing, this week's Hotspots and what's coming up on C31 Fishing.
Talking fishing. Talking fishing.
Hello, Richie Minnow here. It's now time for this week's Fishing Hotspots on Talking Fishing. Marvellous.
And Richie Minnow looking a little bit like a yellow belly, Trelly. I tell you, doesn't he? I'm going to take a couple of fillets off him. Let's have a look at some of the hot spots, and I think Chelsea is going to be a big one this weekend. I know the tea tree's on. A lot of people will be heading out in all parts of Port Phillip and Western Port, but certainly people coming out of Patterson River, they'll turn right. A little bit of warm, patchy water you do get in there quite often.
Yeah.
And, that Chelsea sort of 14, 15 metres.
Yeah.
I think it'll be pretty nice this weekend there.
And I think keep the burley going. I think that's going to be a big thing this weekend. There's going to be a lot of boat traffic. So really, once you get those fish feeding, it's going to be crucial to keep them in your area and keep them on the chew. So a little burley often, rather than just grabbing your 2 kilo bag of cube pillies and tipping the whole thing over the side and away you go.
Yep.
Just a handful of cubes every 5-10 minutes.
Yeah. Even more often than 5 or 10 minutes, but the key is don't stop.
Yeah, that's right.
Just keep. If you've been going for an hour and you still haven't got fish, they mightn't have fired up yet.
So many times you get a rod load as soon as you're within a couple of minutes, a minute of letting go of a handful of cubes, you find one of the rods go off. So
if you want to go totally against that, I was talking to Liz at work, the girl who does our books, and her and Rob went out. Both fell asleep for 45 minutes and woke up with 2 rods going like this. So that goes totally away from that burley thing. The second hotspot, St Leonard's, over on the western seaboard of Port Phillip Bay. It's probably the only place you're going to get a King George whiting. They're telling me that there's nothing virtually between Dramana and Portsea. Very, very tough fishing. But St Leonard's is always the capital of King George whiting, virtually all year round.
Yep.
And if anyone wants a shot at a King George over the Melbourne Cup weekend, head to St Leonard's. Beautiful weed beds, 3 to 4 metres, and again, plenty of burley.
And keep moving. If
you haven't got them within 2-3 minutes, move.
Yep.
Absolutely. Let's head over to Western Port Hastings. It'll be a hotspot this weekend for sure.
Yeah, the ramp will be chock-a-block, but good facilities down there, plenty of parking, and nice and central. Hastings, you can either cruise up the North Arm and get up around Lysarts and places, or you can zip around the corner, fishing around Cows and Rill. Again, more places in the port that have been fishing really well. So nice and central.
We've talked a lot about Coronella, and it is the next hotspot, Coronella, but the fish will start to spread a little bit now.
Definitely.
I think they come in that western entrance and they can either turn right or left around French Island, and a lot of them have been turning right. I think they're going to say, hey, there's too many boats up there.
Yeah, that's right.
We need to do something about it and swim round to Hastings.
Yeah,
So,
well, it is quite shallow around that area. So again, a lot of boat traffic will shut them down a little bit.
Yeah, we were talking earlier on hour-long queues at Coronella, so please be patient if you're in the queues. Everyone's there for a fun time, and it is a big weekend, this long weekend coming up, Melbourne Cup. A couple of destinations, a little bit regional. Lake Tyers, boys. Hearing some fantastic reports of big frogs down there. Not the frogs you were talking about, the colour of the lure up at Lake Eildon. Big flathead. I know Frank Melito, if you want any advice, drop into the little Caltex service station on the left-hand side in Lake's entrance. Frank Melita, I don't know what he's up to now. It must be over 30 fish over 85 centimetres this season so far.
That's right. And we spoke to Brett Geddes during the week, Dave, and he said, typically this time of year the bream start pushing high in the system, but hey, they're down at the entrance, they're mixed in with some huge flatties. There was, I think, a young fella who was just soaking a bait just down off the bank and pulled himself in a nice 80 centimetre flathead. So some really, really big flatties around, lots of bream, and hey, I'd be heading down that way.
And the entrance is open, so
which
it's getting
doesn't
a good
happen
flush.
too often at times.
No,
so.
that's right, and fishing very, very well. Talking of Brett Geddes, I saw him on Catch and Cook in the foyer earlier on. Well done, Brett, if you're watching. The last but not least, Lake Eildon, we were talking about earlier, Trelly. Lots of different places that you can fish and stay at Lake Eildon, where you can stay in the town itself. You got Bonnie Doon, you got Jerusalem Creek, you got on the other side, you got Jamison, you got Hauqua, Goffs Bay. It's what a great region.
Where would you go, Charlie, to have a look for some of these yellows? Would they be sort of schooled up around the stick in the Delatide, or are they getting up Big River? Whereabouts would you be looking?
Probably the Bonnie Doon arm, where it meets the main arm and goes back up towards the Delatide arm. So that corner there seems to be the most concentrated. And up that Jamison arm on the other side seems to be doing all right, but around the walls not so much. It's sort of getting up into those areas in the top of the lakes, and I think again that water temperature is a bit of a key there.
Yeah, I think there's still been some frosts, if you like, up at Eildon, so some quite cool mornings. And well, in Melbourne today it was quite cool. We had the heater on this morning. It goes from warm to cold. Who knows what the thunderstorm the other night? How was that? So. You probably haven't got that really warm water temperature sitting on the surface quite yet at Lake Eildon.
Just starting to kick in, like down here.
Yep.
Just starting to kick in. So yeah.
Trelly, if you're going for trout at Lake Eildon, where would you head?
Trout's probably more underneath the power lines around the wall itself.
Okay.
Just trolling a flat line out the back, and as the temperatures get warmer, you'll probably need the aid of a downrigger and things like that.
Yeah, or paravane or something.
Yeah, so we can do that probably another episode. But just flat lining, Tassie Devils with yellow wings seem to be good, or just a big bunch of worms.
A couple of those new colours are pretty good, aren't they?
I reckon I've noticed there'll be a lot of people heading up to Eildon, because I was just having a walk around the shop today and I noticed all the yellow wing Tassies are out. So.
It tells you something, doesn't it?
Power bait's another thing, and the pondage. The pondage have got some really nice fish. That's where they let their brood stock go into the pondage up there. They get some thumpers out there.
Big fish.
There was a big comp up there last weekend too, I think. The Big Fish Comp, and I think they actually released a whole lot of brood stock specifically for that comp. I was talking to Andy McCarthy late last week, and he said there was a big comp. So there'd be plenty of good fish in the pondage as well, and I reckon that's one of the places, like if you want to just take kids and get up to Eildon, beautiful motels, great playgrounds and all that. I know Future Fish Foundation have got the big fishing trails that go around the pondage, but a great place to take kids for a trout.
Call in the chap called Gary Constantine. He's the chap who owns a tackle shop there.
Oh, yeah.
And he's a wealth of information too. But it's like you said, it's really good for the kids because it's basic. You can use some power bait, float, drift it around, soak up the sun. Kids can run around and throw sticks and things like that, and you can see them for miles.
And rocks. Rocks and sticks. I'm just going to put the glasses on, boys, because it's time to have a look at what's coming up on C31 fishing this week. If you're not heading away for the weekend, there's a monster couple of days of fishing, I can tell you. Wednesday, 6:30am, fishing down under. If you want that little taste tomorrow morning, if you want to head off to bed shortly after this show, get up at 6:30 in the morning, fishing down under. Thursday, 6:30am. Australian Fishing Network, 9:30 on Thursday night. Savage Seas Adventures Go Charlie, and 10pm on the fly. Very good show. Friday, 6:30 in the morning, Catch and Cook. Well, I say it every week. They should. What was Gina cooking out in the foyer earlier on? Could you see?
No, I couldn't. I ran out there in a coughing fit trying to find the closest water terminal. And
you didn't see what Gina was cooking?
No.
Ronnie Smith, if you could just send a text message through, what were you cooking earlier on this evening? Saturday, the big extravaganza starts. Savage Seas Adventures kicks it off, 9:30 in the morning, 10am on the fly, 10:30am fishing down under, 11 o'clock Australian Fishing Network, 11:30 That's Fishing, 12 noon Catch and Cook. If you watch all of them in a row, you'll probably get a divorce from the wife. And then Saturday night, 6:30pm, That's Fishing, 7pm Fishing Down Under, 7:30 Australian Fishing Network. So some cracker shows on there, a good variety there. Like I said, look, my little favourite's the cooking shows, and you really get to see some good examples of what to do with your catch. Inspirational stuff, and you know, Ronnie, we see him all the time just before our show, and he's pretty inspirational on some of the things he catches, but it's damn good viewing, and you can catch up with it on the Catch Up TV. That's it for Talking Fishing. For those of you lucky enough to have a 4-day break for the Melbourne Cup weekend, drive safely, catch some fish, and we'll see you next Tuesday on the night the Melbourne Cup is run. Enjoy your fishing.
We got all you need, just take a look. Watch those fish jump on your hook. So just relax and take your time. Enjoy the show, then drop us a line. Talking fishing, nothing but fishing. We're talking fishing. Talking fishing, nothing but fishing. We're talking fishing. Talking fishing.